Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Hello, hello. It is true. Here I am, Michael Zen, the host of Holding Space. I am here to hold space. That means it's Tuesday. That means we are at the Sacred Spiral Network, a very, very cool place to be and hang out and connect with each other. I saw Arnie was the first one in, pulled up the front seat. Arnie, it's always good to see you. And me and my shadow sat right next to him. And it's good to see you guys here. Always puts a smile on my face. Yeah, it's time to hold space. I'm excited. I had a rough week last week, and I've just been loving adversity. I love life happening for me. I love it makes me feel alive. You know what I mean? It's weird that I'm saying that because last week I was like, holy crap, what the F is going on? And that was just me personally. I'm not even talking about what's going on outside. What's up, Evelyn? Good to see you. What's up, Lisa Marie? What's up, Christy? Good to see you. And Kay Wizzy is here. What's up, Kay Weezy? Good to see you. A Sacred Spiral regular who I always see in the audiences when I'm watching the other Sacred Spiralers go. I wanted to, first of all, start my show with the 3 breaths, right? I always try to connect us all kind of intentionally, energetically by breathing together. It also is just a way for me to relax my shoulders. See, I didn't even have to breathe. I can already start feeling it happening. And that was inspired by Brian Millar, who opens his show and has a lot of breath work practices and meditation stuff, but it really became a good practice. And today I saw Donna Bond's show, and she reminded me of another aspect of that I'm gonna add into the beginning of this. And Arnie is saying, what's going on outside is the illusion. What's going on here is creating reality. Bingo. That's why you're here, Arnie. Thank you for coming here and helping me create this reality, right? We have an awesome reality that we've created here that Kelly Brickle from the Sacred Spiral Network has created with the Sacred Spiral Network, with Ninja Kitty coming over from the live stream of consciousness to the Sacred Spiral Network, and all of the people that show up, all of you guys. I cannot tell you how amazing it is. And I don't think I even have to tell you, because I think you guys show up in the audience because of exactly that, exactly how it feels. You guys are all friends. You guys are all, supportive of each other. If someone comes in with a cold, everyone's like, feel better. If someone comes in with, a death in the family, everybody's there to support. So thank you guys for being my community. Thank you for being here with me through all of this. If you are here and it is Tuesday, April 7th, hashtag live in the comments always helps tickle the algorithm. If it's not Tuesday, April 7th, hashtag replay. You're watching a replay, which is cool too. Just enjoy the messages that are going to come through are going to be just as important. So let's take a breath. Let's take 3 breaths together and clear the space. Set the intentions with sage, the bowl. I see Kelly Brickle just showed up. What's up, Kelly? I was talking about you. Your ears must have been ringing. But welcome. Pull up a seat. Let's do the 3 breaths together. And I'm going to do in through my nose. I hold it up at the top. Sometimes I go deeper than other times. It really depends on how much air I can take at the moment. And then I intentionally push it out. And when I push it out, see, even just saying it and thinking about it, I feel it. I let my shoulders drop a little bit. I just sink into my chair. I get more comfortable. What's up, Labyrinthian? Criterion, another amazing Sacred Spiral member. All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to do the breaths in through the nose. Hold it up at the top real brief, and then let it out and feel it. Feel your body relax a little bit. I feel it. Take another one in. Hold it up at the top just a bit. And release it. Let go of all that stuff. Just let it go. Feel it. Relax. One more breath in. As much as you can. Just pull it in and hold it. And then just release it. I also want to invite make space for good things, make space for great experiences, great conversations, amazing people, and the highest good for all of us. Let's open up the space to that intention. And that was inspired by Donna Bond, and also closing the space. Do you hear that? Still going? Amazing, amazing. And what is up? I see Nikki Cameron walking in. Take a seat, Nikki, and join us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just letting Sage ring before I put her down. I don't want to put her down while she's still going. There we go. And who knows the saying, breathing is fundamental. So good to breathe and just relax and just kind of get intentional with yourself for a moment. And that's something that I want to talk about a little bit today. I heard some great conversations about where people were at, and it just immediately brought up to me like how to meet that. And I want to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that alone, though. I'm going to bring in my guest. I'm excited. I haven't spoken to him in a while. He's a returning champion here on Holding Space. And I'm excited to talk to him. He's a paranormal investigator, Paranormal Pete, they call him. He's Washington-based investigator, and he has a show called the Paranormal Pete Show on the Sacred Spiral Network, and he leads all sorts of ghost walks and investigations, and does a lot of cool stuff. Also, a fellow bass player. We were talking about music right before the show, so I want to welcome to the show an amazing human being, Mr. Paranormal Pete. Welcome to Holding Space.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for making this space, and the breathing exercise was much needed. So thank you.
See that? It always is. It's the easiest thing to forget, right? Like,
yeah,
there's always room to do a breathing exercise, right? You could always sit down and say, you know what? I'm going to take 3 breaths. It's 60 seconds, and it's physiologically, you can feel it. You can feel it happen. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
If you're there, if you're doing it with the right intention, you can feel it. So
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, it was much needed. So thank you for that. Cool. What's up, Kelly?
Cool. Well, welcome back to the show. I want to talk about a bunch of things. Of course, I want to talk about the paranormal stuff that you do. Okay. But I heard some conversations today that just kind of inspired me and allowed me to look within and face the things that I was hearing. And one of the things was I saw a friend of mine post on Facebook something about she was just feeling really confused and hopeless and like was really struggling, right? Like she didn't say anything specific about what it was that was going on, right? But I knew what was going on, right? It was what was going on in the world. It's a very, very critical moment. And immediately my thoughts were, just don't let it win, right? Like you can't give it that much of your energy. And a way to do that, right? It's easy for me to say, oh, don't give it that much energy. But instead of saying what not to do, I said, let me say what to do. And that is to go within, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about, right? Like, you're a bass player, I'm a bass player. If I needed to just shut the world off, I could plug my bass in, put on some music and just jam along with it, or just make up something, or just start to play music, just get into the zone. We were talking about it, right? The zone is in here. The zone is in here, right? The zone is not out there. And I think that's the critical moment that we're in right now. And that was a lot of the conversation I heard, were people on this one side like wondering, how do I deal with this? What the heck is going on? Like, is anybody else feeling like it's insane out there? And of course, my answer was, yeah, it is insane out there. But you know what? It's not insane in here, or maybe it is. I don't know. But here's where I can go to escape that and know truly that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. That's you know, I need to take that advice as well. You know, like just like with the breathing exercise, it's easy to get, you know, kind of weighed down with your surroundings and everything going on. But, you
Mhm.
know, to go inside and, you know, I feel lucky to have a love and passion for music. And, you know, I've been playing music since I was little.
Mhm.
And, you know, and some people might be like, well, I don't play an instrument or anything. It doesn't, you don't have to play an instrument. You can, you know, put on some headphones and jam, you know, along to
You
something
can
without
listen
an
to you
instrument.
can listen to music. I mean,
Yeah.
and we were talking about that, right? I was the way I look at that, and actually now that I even said that out loud, even listening to music is creating in a way, right?
Yeah.
But creating is what I was talking about, right? And I think that we are all creators of some sort. And I think that it's very easy to forget, you know, with all of the stimulation and the stuff that is going on outside, it's easy to forget that some of us like to write, some of us like to read, some of us like to draw, some of us like to sculpt, you know what I mean? Some of us like to cook, some of
Hmm.
us like to give a massage, some of us like to get a massage, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
think these are all energetic exchanges, and man, all of those things I mentioned are so much more pleasant to talk about and think about than stuff the unmentioned stuff, right?
Yeah. Than the world. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And yeah, I mean, we just have to remember, like you said, to go there and whatever somebody can do, you know, to get there, just grab a scratch pad and doodle on, or, you know, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Just putting on headphones. I mean, for me, even just listening to music makes everything else kind of go away.
Absolutely.
Um, you know, you know, move your body, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
move your,
You know,
you
that's
know,
one thing I wish I could. I got to remember to do that more, right? Because it always feels so good, and I just love to relax and be calm and not move my body, right? But I know when I do move my body, and again, I've got to be in that right mind space, and the intention's got to be there. Like, okay, I'm moving my body. I'm gonna feel every part of my body move. I'm gonna connect with my arms as I'm flailing them. I'm not just gonna flail them. I'm gonna like feel it. You know what I mean?
yeah, feel
It's
it.
gonna have intention. You know, um, yeah. I think that's important, and I just felt compelled to remind everybody of that. Right? Those conversations I heard today. That's all good, right? Like this attitude that I bring to the table, like that's why I do this show, because it reminds me of that's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. It's not easy to always be that, right? I was telling you before the show that last week I had a rough week. You know, I'm working on a project. I mentioned it on my other show, and it was just really falling apart. And I personally got kind of not, and I think I'm voicing this out loud just to purge it, right? Um, I didn't get thrown under the bus. I got thrown under the train. And it
Dang.
was rough. It was really rough. My boss, who I have a great relationship with, was really frustrated and pissed, and dare I say yelling at me. It wasn't that, but the energy was
Hmm.
evident, right?
Hmm.
And it was really rough because I wasn't used to that. Uh and I'm grateful I am who I am, right? And that I have control over, well, I don't want to say I have control over. I'm aware of my ego and my response, and I try to process things before I say them. I'm aware of words and how powerful they
Yeah.
can be. You know what I mean? I've been in arguments where I'm like, fuck you, and this, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
mean, I even mock it because I know the energy that it carries, right? Um,
Yeah.
but like the like I said to you earlier, like, or as I said actually when I started the show, I like the adversity because it helped me be that. It helped me navigate that way, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had the opportunity to navigate that way if the situation didn't go that way. So anyway, that's the past. Let's get into this moment, because I'm excited to see you. And I don't usually talk to paranormal people. Have been in and out of my show lately, but
Yeah.
I really like the paranormal and the crossover of it, and the conversation I just had with you about what's going on in the moment. I'd love to know how that connects and how that affects what's going on in the paranormal world. Is like, the ghosts know what's going on? Like, are they aware of what's happening with humanity?
That's a
I mean, I
huge
kind of know the
question.
answer, but
That's
I'm posing it to you in your context.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And yes and no and everything in between, I think is a good way to answer it. I
Yeah,
think they
fair.
do. I would say, well, I think about the long-term residents that I deal with here in Port Gamble a lot, and I think it can translate in just in experiences I've had too. They may know what's going on, but time's different. Everything's on a different perspective on the other side. So
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
they know, but I don't know that they care. I don't know if that's a bad way to put it. Um, you know what I
Makes
mean?
sense.
Like
No, yeah,
they're
like, so, like, you, and actually you just kind of preface it with time is different there, right? So they understand eternity in a way we don't,
yeah, and
right?
and
So
yeah,
the moment in time that we're experiencing is not the same thing to them, and that makes total, that was a great answer, Pete. That was
yeah.
that hit it on the head. I mean, you really did. That hit it on the head.
Well,
Um,
tip your bartenders. I'm here all week, so. Uh,
uh,
yeah, I don't know. There's so many possibilities, but I really think that um, what matters to them is things that mattered in their life and their memories,
mhm, mhm,
and
mhm, mhm.
what they're choosing to experience at any particular time. Whatever memory that
Mhm.
they're kind of in,
Right.
age, time period, whatever. And so I
So
just think they
still,
they don't
so
care.
you're saying, like, still connected to whatever mission they had when they were in the 3D form. What's up, Hat Powser? I just want to say hello to Hat.
Yeah, yeah, in a way.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
the more work I do with the paranormal and mediumship, it's really shown me that um, going from the 3D world, as you say, to the, I don't know, 10D world, whatever it is,
other
um,
realms. I just throw, I don't, yeah, I don't put a number on it.
whatever.
3D is as a number because 3D is based on language, right? So there's got to be
Yep,
what, you know.
there's got to be something,
Yeah.
but I think we're really guided by our experience in the life that we have, the physical life, and the memories that are created with it, the relationships, the
Mhm,
um, your pets. It's you're really connected to that stuff still, even when you cross over. And so,
mhm, mhm, mhm,
however that your life experience and your memories, I think you kind of live on through those in those times.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
so if you're from the 1800s and your memories are from 1848, great memory. Like when you're going to that place, you're going to that time. um, at least that's what I've experienced.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, yeah, time is different. And yeah, um, I don't think they've been affected with anything. So
Interesting. And I gotta say, you're stimulating my brain here a little bit, because I kind of cross over, like I said, into the metaphysical and the paranormal,
Yeah.
and I also subscribe to a lot of the things you're talking about, like time doesn't really exist, or everything exists all at the same moment, right? So the idea of these spirit energies even being kind of connected to a certain time or location, I'm starting to think about it. Maybe it's more frequency based, right? So it's like that energy
Mhm.
is tuned to a specific frequency
Yeah.
that time is also tuned to, right? So that's the commonality of it, and that's where it kind of becomes identified, right? Or identifiable,
Yeah.
or we can relate to it and communicate with it because it has its own time signature, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
And
I think the
relative
key
quantum.
word the key word you said in there was frequency.
Yeah.
And, there can be all different kinds of frequencies that
Mhm.
affect all different kinds of things. Think about this, talking about a spirit going to a location that they had a memory in that time. Um, think about this: since we started the show here, the earth is not in the same place it was.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
And so if you try and explain, or if you ask the question, well, how does a ghost know to go to this house? Or how does a ghost
mhm,
stay at this house? Or
mhm.
how does it go to this building if, even from when we started the show, from a physical standpoint, the earth is not where it was,
Right, 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 right,
and it won't be again.
right.
And so it has to do with frequency, I think,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and it has to do with the memory. And somehow you tune into this frequency, or I'm not exactly sure, but I think it has to do with frequencies, that you're able to tune in and go there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it has a signature
Right.
that, and so I think that's
Yeah.
how why they
It's
go where they go.
I'm just smiling because in my head I'm like, did we just prove that not only time doesn't exist, but also space doesn't exist? Did we just prove that? Like
Hey,
all that exists is frequency, and like it's intelligent. It knows where to go, like when it wants to be a certain thing. Like
yeah,
I, I'm yeah,
how
man.
does it get there?
I,
You
I'm
know?
just blowing my mind right now. I think
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we're here to solve the big issues. So
Yes, yes. Actually, it's interesting. I just saw, hold on, I'm gonna have to look this up on, give me a second. I'm gonna look it up
yeah.
over here. I just saw on Acid for Squares, which is an amazing podcast that I watched. They just had this amazing guest. Hold on, I forget his name. He's an Indian philosopher, and
Okay.
he's got like millions and millions of followers. They said he is the most followed living philosopher, like
Oh wow,
on the
that's cool.
planet. Here he is. His name is A- Acharya Prashant. Okay. And you know what? Hold on. I'm just gonna bring this up. I'm gonna give these guys a plug. Give me 1 second
That's great.
here. Just bear with me.
I like the name of the podcast.
Yeah, so Cody Blue is D. Snyder's son, one of D. Snyder's sons,
Nice.
and his wife Tanya. They were both in the film world. They were both filmmakers. They both are filmmakers, and they just also had a lot of experiences with plant medicine and aliens and paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And they just like they felt like they couldn't. They kind of kept it hidden, because it was like they couldn't do their career. They felt like they couldn't, and then they just said, you know what, this is what we're all about, and they created this podcast. They have the most incredible guests on. They've spoken to Daryl Anka, Bashar,
Yeah.
just some really incredible people. And oh my god, this guy, the lost sacrament of Christ, this guy, the other last week, he was talking about how all religion is based on psychedelics, and just the conversations are just awesome. They're just, I mean, you got to take them for what they're worth, right? And I'm not like I don't do a lot of psychedelics. I don't do any really right now. I mean, I have in the past, but it's just amazing. Anyway, I'm totally going off track here. um so Acharya Prashant, he was saying that the conversation that they were having about pursuing spirituality, he's like, spirituality is just another level of materialism. Like, it's just like the ego saying, I need to find an answer. He's just like, there is no answer. Everything happens regardless of if you're thinking about it or not. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
pursuing it or not. It was just it's so great. And Tim says it's a great show. Ammon Hillman on the psychedelics. No, that was William Henry on the psychedelics. He's one of the guys from Ancient Aliens, I think, or one of those
Oh,
shows.
okay.
They just have amazing guests, so check them out if you get a chance. Really, really good conversations. But again, it just thinking about spirituality. Like, I'm really into spirituality, right? And I have friends who come to me. Angelo, who's a watcher of the show, is always calling me up and going, I think I have it. I think I got the answer. Like, he's looking for an answer. And I'm just like, no, then you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? And that's just my take on it. But
it's a great thought. I mean, the ego part of it is makes sense, in that us in this time and place, in this physical reality, we're looking for something so much that it's going to, of course, make you think that's your expectations create this, or your bias create an expectation of what it's going to be like. And
right.
I think that could carry over to the other side where you're still searching. But I will say a lot of spirits that I've communicated with aren't doing that. They're just there, and they're there to help somebody or a group of people, or they're there to help other spirits, or they're just there.
So
But I think
they get it. They get it.
Yeah, we finally get it once it's that time. But I think that I've seen what the proverbial light is, or at least what I think that's what I see. And I think once whatever that is, I call it the soul's car wash. Whatever that is, you gain this knowledge or perspective. You're tied into the Akashic record, maybe, and you have access to all human experience and memory, and animal experience and memory. And so I think, maybe whatever this proverbial light is gives you that, you get the answer finally.
I love that. And so now what I want to ask you is what gave you that like information? Is that something that's been communicated to you, or is that like a general takeaway when you communicate? Like,
it's a little bit of both. I guess it's a lot of my own reasoning and trying to understand what I'm experiencing. Probably the most strongest experience I had with it was all of a sudden I in front of me see a hand and another hand, and I kind of put them together, and I realized it was my grandma and grandpa, and then they turned into this bright light, and they zoomed off. And then pretty much immediately after that, I got a phone call saying my grandmother just passed away.
Wow.
And I said, I know. And I realized with my grandpa that he was waiting for her and hadn't gone to the light yet. And I don't know exactly how I know this, but it's just like, I just knew it. To download, what I've heard some people call it. But it just seems, it does something to you. You come back from the light as part of the light, and the vibration feeling is different. Spirit who hasn't gone to the light feels very low vibration, low frequency, heavy, because they're carrying around everything that held them down, weighted them down in life. Those who've been to the light, I think, are a part of that light because it's just such a different feeling. It's like high vibrational, makes you want to bounce off the walls, sort of feeling. And so
Right.
there's definitely something there that changes you. I think when you
Yeah,
become
yeah,
a
yeah.
part of it.
Interesting. So I feel like, and I'm just responding to you now, Pete. Like I feel like you're tapping into frequency, maybe, right?
Right.
Like this mycelial network almost,
Hmm.
of human plasma, right? Those are the words that are coming
Sure.
to mind. Um, and again, so that must be like those are the only words I could use to describe it, but to imagine what that feels like, I can't. Right. And that's kind of what
Right.
I feel like. That's kind of what I feel like you're describing. Hat Pauser says, I just started reading A New Science of Heaven by Robert Temple. Those Akashic records might just be located on plasma crystals in the Kordiolski clouds between here and the moon. Just the fact that you're saying that, Hat, I just love that these conversations are being spoken aloud, and not like you're crazy, like, oh wait, that might make sense. Like people are tapping into it and being like, okay, like open to it, right? and
Yeah.
and and even like again, part of that mycelial network, which I think is all information, the Akashic records, all
Yeah.
information that exists. Like I think we all can tap into that, and that's what you're into with the paranormal. It's like flashes of that, right? Flashes
Yeah.
of those connections to that. So Arnie asked a good question, and I was thinking about this too when I knew I was going to be speaking to you. He's saying, what is your thought on a spirit and a ghost? Do you think there is a difference? But before you answer that, I also want to say this, because I think when people think of paranormal investigations, and looking into ghosts and spirits, which is the same thing, I don't think it's in the same context, right? I think when people are thinking of the metaphysical or
Hmm.
psychic mediumship, they're thinking of a message specifically for a specific person, whereas you're more just looking for interaction and proof. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I mean, that's what I hope paranormal investigators are looking for is, we can gather all the evidence, we can in the world, but we want proof, right? And
Mhm.
that's part of our ego. That's part of our search on
Right.
this level, on this plane, is to know what happens next.
Mhm.
And, a lot of people confuse evidence as proof.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know that there is a way to have proof, really.
Mhm.
Um, but we're always going to, search for that. I
Mhm.
started my journey into paranormal investigation as a skeptic of psychics and mediums.
Right.
And till I had a bunch of experiences and realized, oh, I can communicate. Wow, this is weird.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And so I kind of come from both sides of it, where, you know, um, investigating from a trying to investigate from a pragmatic standpoint using tools.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is kind of partially to your point. It's when you're looking for quote unquote paranormal investigation or ghost hunting, I don't really like that term, but
Mhm. Mhm.
when you're doing that, you're using some sort of tools, right? Some sort of tools that we think might help you communicate. When
Mhm.
you're on more of the metaphysical side, you're still using a tool. It's
Mhm.
just different, and it
Mhm.
happens to
Mhm.
be you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and so I like to
Yeah.
try and integrate both things,
Right. Right.
um,
Great.
to investigation stuff. So to Arnie's question, what is your thought on a spirit and ghost?
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
there's a difference?
Mhm.
Um, yes, there's a lot of ways you could slice that question. But I think, a ghost you could maybe associate as something left behind, or a shadow, of something.
Mm.
A spirit maybe is more what you would consider or think of as a soul, right? Our soul.
The
So
light.
there the light. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one difference, but it really depends on what you're defining as a spirit and what you're
Right.
defining as a ghost. But
Sure.
if there's a difference, I don't know. I guess it just depends on, like, how you're experiencing it. and what that experience is. So I
Mhm.
guess there is a difference, but it's really kind of
Sure.
your
Well,
own experience and perception of it.
right, right. And also, but also I'm feeling like intention behind that too, right? Like exactly what you're saying. And I'm sure you're familiar with the term psychopomp, I believe
Yep.
it, right?
Hmm.
And what you've experienced and from some of the stories you've said are, like you said, left behind, right? So it's almost like the ghost doesn't necessarily want to be there, whereas the spirit is intentionally there, either
Yeah.
for a message, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
And maybe
yeah,
the ghost is a piece of a certain frequency of that
a
spirit,
remnant. Yeah, yeah.
a remnant of it. It's
Mhm,
something
mhm.
maybe left behind, or that's why you hear stories about the TV
Interesting.
shows define it. The TV shows call it residual hauntings. It's more
Mhm,
classically defined as a haunting,
mhm,
where it's something that's been left behind to that space. So you're seeing
mhm,
the lady walk through the kitchen every day at 9 o'clock in the morning, going and getting her cup of tea, and she seems to not realize you're even there. Or
mhm,
it's like
mhm,
the spirit, when people say, the spirit ignored me and walked right by me. Well, it might not
mhm,
have
mhm.
known you were even there, because
Right.
it was in its own time and it's doing its own thing.
Mhm.
And so that's, another way to try and look at it. What's up, Jason? I
Ooh,
saw him pop on.
I just got a chill when you said that, because I just to think that, like, that might be happening at any moment right around me, is that other, even though we prove that time doesn't exist, right? Other times might be like overlapping, right, into my
Totally.
space. Time and space don't exist, but this somehow still happens.
Yeah.
They overlap.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when you're holding space, time can change.
yeah,
And, it goes back to time is relative, and,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
just your time is experience,
yeah.
in
Which
a
which
way.
actually you're making me think all happens here, right? So this is why I think that we do see those things where people have these mental powers, right?
Mhm.
Telepathy, telekinetic abilities, right? Brian Lahr, spinning the rod on the show. I don't know if you've ever seen him spin the rods, but he does some great demonstrations. And that's actually, I've been seeing that all over the internet. People with those psi wheels, what the psi wheel is, the little
Yeah,
the
yeah.
little kids in school, like they're all in groups and they're all trying to make them spin, and
Yep.
it's just, again, that makes me excited. That makes me
Yeah.
excited for the time that we're in, right? Forget about all the stuff that I don't know, what was I talking about way at the beginning of the show, right? We're in an amazing moment, we really are, and I'm grateful that I can hold that perception, right? Considering the other things that are happening in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is an incredible time, and I've talked to, various guests over the years on my show, um, that, this is just our little slice of experience, but in general, there is, I think, some sort of awakening going on,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
and where more and more people are uh, attaining more perception. Maybe because of all the stimulation in our lives and everything, it's making connections in brain cells,
mhm,
and
mhm, mhm.
you know, I think we are in a awakening sort of age, and it's just, what are we going to do with it?
Right.
And humanity, if you look at history, it's kind of scary to think about what are we going to do with
Sure,
that.
sure.
um
It is,
but
and it's kind of, I guess it's kind of sad, right? Because I'm a human and I can look at humanity and say some things about it that are not the best, but I can also say some things that are the best, and then I can decide which part of that I want to be, right? And
yeah,
that's what we're talking about, is that awareness. Most people walk around not realizing that they can choose what part of it they want to be. They just go with what they think it is, and the world is
Yep.
happening, and they're just a part of it, not actively being a part of it. There's some good comments going
Yeah.
on right now. Hat saying this great thing right here, which I love. Regina Meredith talked about someone's experience where they saw in 1800s era family sitting around the dinner table in her house, and they also saw her and pointed at her. So who's the ghost? And that's that whole time thing, right? Like in the 1800s, they're sitting around, and you're seeing them thinking they're the ghost, but they're like looking at you like, whoa, what's that thing from the
Yeah.
future? We don't even know, like
Oh,
again, time. What is time, right?
totally. I have yeah, there's some great comments and questions going on.
Yeah.
So I had an experience in Seaside, Oregon. This was a few years ago where I was helping to lead a tour for the Oregon Ghost Conference. And we happened to be standing next to this building that used to be the jail. And so there's like original jail cells still in there.
Wow.
And it's now a brewing company. So it's like a restaurant, brewery sort of thing. And we're standing next to it. And I'm talking about the history of the location. There's really no reports of hauntings or paranormal experiences in there, but just the history of the building's kind of cool.
Mhm.
So I'm talking, and there's a group of probably 30 people at least on the tour. And out of nowhere, there's a deck on the top of the building, and they were closed. They were clearly closed. Lights were off. The building was shut down. And out of nowhere, we get this live music that sounded like 60s rock and roll. And it was you could tell it was live music. The singer was a little bit out of key. It wasn't like somebody hit play on something. It was live drums. You as a musician, you know what live music
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah,
Live
absolutely.
drum.
And just so I'm still having chills from when you said you heard music till now. It was just this constant chill
Oh,
happening.
this is so weird. And it was so loud. I'm shouting as loud as I can to talk to the group. And we're in kind of like this little it's like a half alley sort of thing.
Mhm.
I'm shouting and cannot talk over this music. It's so loud.
Wow.
So I move the group, we exit the alley and turn and start to walk up the street, and it just stops on a snap of a finger. Done.
Oh, I got
Silence.
another chill. Oh my God. Wow, Pete.
And
Woo.
and so it was so the whole group experienced this. It wasn't just me. So the whole group is like,
Is
"Whoa,
anybody else
what in
out
the
there getting
world?"
chills? I just got chills with this story. Go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
so I was telling that story this year at the Oregon Ghost Conference, and a friend of mine on the tour said, "What if they heard you?" And we're like, "Who is that down in the alley?" And then it stopped.
Wow. Ooh,
And
and
I
I
was
got
like,
another chill.
yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, maybe. I don't know." Uh,
That's crazy.
and so anyways, I called the owners of the place the next morning, and they verified that they had left almost an hour before we were there,
Wow.
and that there were no venues playing live music in the area. It was the wrong night of the week for it.
Wow.
And so we just couldn't figure that out. But
And
did they
how many people experienced that?
about 30? There was about 30
Wow.
people on the tour.
Amazing.
And I mean, maybe they heard me. When my friend said that this year, I was like, "Whoa, maybe they heard me like shouting."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And like,
That's
did it go?
crazy. That's
You
such a
know?
great story, Pete. Holy moly. I wanna
Yeah,
just acknowledge Evelyn, who's saying, "I thought a ghost was just an earthbound spirit that may not know it's dead or needs direction to the light," but you're saying it could be a shadow of energy, which makes sense. You would need light, right, if you're a shadow?
yeah. I think it could be a shadow of energy. I think Evelyn, you're also I think right as well. I think a ghost can be many different things.
Mhm,
I mean, it depends on what it's doing and what its intention is, and that's the hard part to figure out is what's the intention.
mhm,
So I think you're also right that a ghost could be labeled that,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I think it could also be a shadow of someone's energy or a shadow of an incident, an
Mm,
event. a shadow of an event that took place there.
I love that. I love that idea. Yeah, because I think that events have energetic signatures, right? I mean,
Yeah,
everything has an energetic signature to it. I love that you're saying that. Arnie
that's
says we're in a
yeah,
time where anything is possible. I love that quantum. We're in a quantum moment.
yes, indeed. Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but it's really like how to, for all your listeners and viewers, it's like how do
Mhm,
what's your perception, and realizing what your perception is probably totally different than what my perception is,
mhm,
and
mhm,
what is totally different than Michael's perception is.
mhm, mhm.
And but somehow there's something that stitches it together,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some
Well,
way.
well, and like those 30 people, right, who all talked about hearing that music, right? They experienced that same thing, but and it probably they each got a different kind of chill, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Their own kind of chill.
sure.
Um, Michelle Olivier, I love that. I love there's a photographer, Danny Olivier, who I follow. When you
Nice.
transition into a spirit, do you retain your memories and personality, and can you choose to interact with the living, or are you bound by new rules? And that kind of goes the whole ghost and spirit thing. But what are your
Can you
thoughts
put
on
that
that?
back up there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's a deep question.
yeah.
Um, so, Michelle, I'll say in my experience, and again, I think it's a little different for everybody who taps in.
Mhm,
I think you do. In my experience, that's what I've seen. Spirits tend to show me their memories. They'll show me photographs to represent memories. So I think you do, and you take your personality with you, the good for good and for bad. You take your personality with you.
mhm,
Um, but I think if you go to the light when which is on most of the time on your choice, your spirit's choice to go right to the light, or maybe you're trying to take care of something and then go. Um, but I think once you go to the light, a lot of the things that held you down in life that may have shaped you, may have shaped your personality, whether it's health, a lot of health issues, your anxiety, things that can hold you down, stress, I think once you go through the light, all that stuff gets washed off. And I'm not sure on the last part of your question, are you bound to by new rules? um, I don't think there's necessarily a set of rules. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I think it just depends on how you can store and use your energy, whether or not you can interact with the living. And just to slightly expand on that is if I would think maybe someone who's very spiritual or very much conscious of their energy and stuff, maybe as a spirit, they may be able to know how to harness their energy better and store it and use it to
mhm,
interact with something physical in this
mhm,
world, if that
mhm.
makes any sort of sense.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it does make sense. Yes. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you, Michelle, and thank you, Pete, for that.
Yeah.
And Hat is following up. Regina said that one of the 1800s dressed men at the table nudged the other and pointed at her, the
Yeah.
living woman. That's
Yeah. I
freaky.
think
That's
I
totally
think they
freaky.
can see us, sometimes just as we can see them. We don't always see them. They may not always see us.
Right, right. No, that's great. And Katie says you have the best stories.
Thanks, Katie.
We're surrounded by all other frequencies we're not on, sharing the same space, right? Which does not
Yeah.
exist. It's all quite practical. Yeah, and that's what makes this show possible and these conversations, because I don't have to worry that people are like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" You
Yeah.
guys get it, or you get it, or you don't.
Yeah.
I think it's part of that mycelium network I was talking about. I think that we all if you look at the definition, I've been talking about this recently too with Colin Walker, a hologram, right? Each like pixel of a hologram, I guess you would call it a pixel, has the whole image in it, right? And that's to me like a fractal, no pun
Yep.
intended, of existence, right? It's like
Yep.
of what we are, of what a thought is, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, of what
And what
information
happens
is.
yeah, and what happens when you have billions and billions of those?
Yeah, yeah. This is what happens.
Yes, this is right here.
Yes.
That's great.
And Michelle is, oh, I missed the whole, oh, look at the, you guys are asking some great questions. I usually think of ghosts the way Pete described it, sort of an impression or a shadow, an event that's stuck on repeat, not really interactive at all, just running the same course. What are your
And
thoughts on that? Is there a difference
yeah,
between that kind of an entity and then one that you can interact with?
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think, yeah, you can be stuck on repeat. Um, I think you hear stories about, oh, if you go down this old road where this accident was 60 years ago, you'll see spirit of a girl or a spirit of a man. Those stories are all over the place, and
Mhm,
so I think of, like, if someone dies instantaneously in, like, a car wreck or gunshot,
mhm,
or
mhm, mhm,
sudden end,
mhm,
you may not realize, and remember, time is different, or
mhm,
maybe it doesn't exist. So on
mhm,
this
mhm.
side, it seems like 10 years, but over there it's 2 seconds. But
Right.
you know, you may not realize you've passed on,
Mhm,
and you may feel like you're in this dream that keeps repeating.
mhm,
And then you're
mhm.
like, why am I here? Or maybe you don't even realize I'm stuck here. Maybe it's just
Right.
there, you're in that moment. So I
Mhm,
think, yeah, I think of cases of, like, sudden death. There's a chance that a spirit may not know it's
mhm,
passed
mhm,
on,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
and
Interesting.
hopefully another guide will come who's assigned to catch people like that and take them to the light. Hopefully they will come
Right,
at some point to take them and,
right.
guide them where they need to. When I talk about memories a lot, someone asked me once, what about somebody who had Alzheimer's
Mhm,
and they pass? And I say to that, I've seen an experience of that in a reading where, um, somebody with Alzheimer's passed, but
mhm.
others, family members, were there to catch them.
Mm.
They basically caught them coming out of the body and transitioning, take them to the light. They're restored.
Family members that had passed on.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they were there to grab them, take them to the light, clean them off in the soul's car wash,
So fully
and then
aware of that the effects of the 3D were still gonna be affecting that energy and it
yeah,
would need help.
because maybe that's what you would say is that's a lost spirit, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we do take so much of our heart and personality from this life to the next. So it's
Mhm,
stands to think that if someone's lost their memories,
mhm, mhm,
what are
mhm.
they going to do? Well, there's others on
Right.
the other side that are going to help you.
Amazing. I had never really heard that before. That's amazing. Again, some really great comments. I just want to kind of
Yeah.
acknowledge everybody. Evelyn says Dolores Cannon was talking with Nostradamus, who was adamantly alive, who had her translate his quatrains, and is that overlapping timelines? Um, because I guess they weren't
Yeah.
live at the same time, but and that's making me think of people that I know who are like trans channels, right? Like I'm thinking of my friend Wendy who channels Metatron, right? And to me that whole exchange happens up here with intention, and then that opens the door to that energy and that frequency, and that's like, the intention just kind of gets her where she needs to be. And I've been a skeptic of that stuff. 20 years ago you couldn't even get me to listen to somebody who would mention the Galactic Council, and
Yeah.
now it's like, it's almost like, even talking to you, Pete, like I've come to this point in my existence where I feel like everything's connected. I feel like we're all part of this big one thing. So talking to you, like I feel like I'm talking to my reflection. I feel like like I'm just kind of here experiencing this moment, and
Yeah.
even this conversation, like I had no idea what the F we were going to talk about tonight, and this has been such an amazing conversation. It's like, it's just we're channeling this. This is information that just we both kind of resonate with, and
Yeah,
and the audience out there who's listening resonates with, and we're just kind of raising the frequency of this information, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So that, and then we're going to leave it out on the internet as its own consciousness that's going to then interact with other people as it exists.
That's
So
right.
I
That's
think
right.
I think it's amazing, creating reality. That's what I'm all about.
It is amazing, and if I can, just the coolest thing about creating reality and creating this reality, um, the more you check your ego, the more open you are.
Mhm. Totally.
And like that's one of those things like you were talking about in the beginning, like it's easy to forget to just breathe.
Mhm. Yep,
Is
exactly.
it
Totally.
is well, I guess it's not easy to be aware of your ego and to admit it. I guess that's not easy, but the more you check your
I
ego,
don't I don't think
the
it's
more
that
open
hard.
you are.
I don't think
Well,
it's that hard.
I don't know.
It get it
I can
it
see it
gets
being a
easier.
problem.
You know what? It gets easier, but I will also say this: it's not like a permanent state. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally.
Until we're not in the three dimensions anymore. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like as long as we're in the three dimensions, the ego is a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think coming to terms with that is a cool thing too. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
even understanding that, like, you know what? Sometimes I'm going to react to someone through my ego,
Yeah.
and I got to forgive myself, right?
Yeah. Well, even spirits can react
With
an
ego.
ego
Oh,
with ego
interesting.
as
That's
well. I
interesting.
think they can, if you got somebody who is a real pain in the rear end
Mhm,
to
mhm,
everybody in
mhm.
their life,
Uh-huh.
and they're, because of their ego, that's still going to come through in a way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's just comes along with the quote unquote personality. So
No,
there you
I
go.
get that. I get that. Jennifer is asking a great question. Jennifer says, "Do you believe when we pass, it's our choice? Have we set the how and when before we come here? Are there exit points where we are close to death but can choose to come back before going to the light?" What are your thoughts on that?
Well, boy, the audience really has got some deep questions.
Yeah, they're good. I have a good audience
Um,
for sure.
yeah, yeah, great, and I recognize some of them from my show too. So thank you
Yeah.
very much for
Sacred
that.
Spiral. Yeah,
Um,
and there was my ego claiming it as my audience. It's the Sacred Spiral community.
darn egos.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. This is a great question. I don't know if I can answer that really, Jennifer, because I don't really know. And I'll be humble enough to admit that, but that's a great thought. I think in some ways we have, if you think about our life here as this is a journey, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, is on this journey, right? And we're on this planet at this time to learn something. Whatever that is, I'm not sure. It's different for everybody, I think. But so I guess in some way, I maybe before you're born, if you believe in reincarnation, that your soul just doesn't start when you're born, it's already, in existence.
Mhm, mhm,
Then maybe, yeah, I would say it's totally possible that we've set the how and the when before we even come here.
mhm,
I think, where we choose, or where we're close to death, or can we, but can choose to come back before going to the light. I'll speak to, coming back. I think, spirit, if they haven't gone to the light, they haven't necessarily left, in a way. And so it's not like they're coming back before going to the light. They just haven't gone to the light. But
mhm,
I think it's different when you've gone to the light and you become a part of it. Officially become a part of it. We're all a part of it in a way, I think, but you're not fully a part of it until you join the club and you go, you know, go through it. And so
right.
maybe, exit points. Yeah, yeah. You could say, some people's life and death was meant to be, and it was the right time. And so, yeah, I think, there are exit points, and I don't know how we do it, but maybe we do set, the how and the when, and we don't know that until then.
Good. I think that's a great answer, and I was just thinking how cool it was that we can even talk about this stuff and answer this stuff, and at the same time believe that time doesn't exist and space doesn't exist.
Totally.
Well, I don't even want to say believe. I just want to say no. Right? We know that it doesn't exist, but we can still pontificate or whatever. We can still like have these discussions and kind of
Well, sure.
try to figure out these little nuances.
We've got brains that can only perceive so much and understand so much. So we're just trying to make sense of it all. So
So Jennifer is responding and she says, that's fair. Thank you. I've had my own thoughts about it. When my grandmother passed, I had a message and she said she didn't mean to go when she did. She saw her family and went too far and couldn't come back. Then I read about exit points and it made sense. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like if your grandmother may have been close to death or near death experience or close to death, and you start to see your family that comes to be with you and to welcome you and take
and
you
then
over.
You missed the ride back.
You could go too far. Yeah, I think that's totally I could see that happening. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I mean, I love this conversation and I love all of the things that are connected to it. So we were talking about Cody Snyder and acid for squares, right? And the whole idea of plant medicine and how that connects you to the mycelium or the information or what that even does to you, physically, and all of these concepts that we were talking about, right? Like the idea that we're here in 3 dimensions and we've kind of got to deal with it. And I always catch myself when I say we got to deal with it. We get to deal with it, right? Like let's be grateful, right? We do get to experience this, and we get to experience all that other stuff that we're talking about, right? So, I mean, what's not to be happy about? Why so serious? Why is everybody so upset?
Sure. I mean, but if you're good at going inwards and being in that place, the space that you hold for yourself, that's how we get through it all.
Right, exactly. So Evelyn is telling her story. I want to just tell Evelyn's story quick. She says she had a near-death experience and she was told I could stay if she wanted to, and she stayed for her kitty, which is Hat Powser says is a good reason. But Evelyn says he was 18 and he needed special care, and I'd promised I'd take care of him for his entire life. He lost his sibling 2 weeks before she left in the ambulance, so she came back for the kitty. That's awesome. And Jennifer's following up on her grandmother. She was ill for many years. She had a triple bypass 20 years before she passed, and we all thought she wouldn't make it. So then she had 20 years extra after that bypass. That's cool. Awesome. She's my guide and put me on the spiritual path. Yeah, again, I feel like we're all connected. I feel like even ancestral, chains exist, and reincarnation you were talking about. I think all of that stuff exists. And again, what's so cool is like being in the 3D, I have to kind of define it in my head as a timeline, but then also not being in 3D, I can just be like, it's all happening at the same time. It all exists, right? It's all just, it all just is.
If we spend a lot of time as a race, as humanity, as a species, if we spend more time thinking about this kind of stuff, imagine how the world would be.
More campfires, sitting around the campfire, and having some fun and just enjoying each other's company, right? Like, man, oh man, I miss that.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? I also get to do it when I can set those intentions and do it. And I guess that's we're kind of coming up towards the end of the show, and I'm gonna feel like that's my thoughts is like it's all a choice, right? And a lot of times, just like the breath that we did at the beginning, you just kind of forget that you have that choice, and sometimes it's just like take the moment and intentionally make that choice.
Absolutely. I needed that. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you you're amazing, by the way. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much for
thanks, man.
A great hour. What you got any closing thoughts for us?
uh, be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and
Those are
keep an
great
open
thoughts.
mind. My on my show, I talk about my mantra is always, we don't know much. There's another way to say it, but I'll keep it appropriate. We don't
Mhm,
know much, but anything's possible. And
mhm.
like, if we could just go through life like that, I think that'd be great.
Totally.
And I hope I got to get you on my show so we can
Oh, I would love to be on your
we can
show. I
blow
want
our minds some more.
Awesome. I want to ask you what you're doing, but I want to add to what you said, right?
Yeah,
If you believe in everything, everything's possible.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's all just to add to what you said. Ninja Kitty saying thank you. Michael
yeah,
saying thank you. Tell us what you got going on. You said you had a couple things you wanted to
yeah.
promote.
Sure. Well, thanks very much for that. Yeah, I've got my show, the Paranormal Pete Show, here on the Sacred Spiral Network. My next episode it's monthly, mid-month on a Wednesday evening. So next Wednesday,
Great.
at 8 p.m. Pacific. So if you're on the East Coast, sorry, but maybe you like to stay up late. You can always catch the replay, and I'm going to have the station host Kelly Brickle on the show.
Awesome.
And so I think we'll be doing some readings on the show, and talking about,
Cool.
all this kind of stuff. But I think we'll be doing some readings on the show. So hopefully you check that out. And then May 1st and 2nd, I'm going to be at the UFO Paranormal Summit in Ocean
Ooh,
Shores.
nice.
Yeah. And, I've got to be there last year, and Nick Pope was there. And he's been all over the news. He just passed away. So rest in peace
Yeah, I
to
saw that.
him. He
Yeah.
was a nice gentleman. So that's coming up May 1st and 2nd, ufosummit.com.
Cool.
And that's always such a fun audience. And then, yeah, or the Port Gamble Ghost Conference is coming up later this year, November 6th through 8th.
Cool. Cool.
So,
Cool. Cool. And
yeah,
I also want to give you a shout out because you said you've been working really hard. Paranormal Pete, his day job is he's the town manager. He manages a whole town. So imagine the responsibility that Pete has.
and it's a
That's
really small town, but it's a big responsibility.
it's still a town. It's
it's
still a
it's a
town.
town. It's a town. It's Port Gamble. Yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, go to the website. It's under my name there, portgambleparanormal.com. But yeah, thanks for that shout out.
Yeah,
It's a neat little town here, and it's just I've been lucky to be a part of it here, and I think I was supposed to come here. Um,
I think so
you
too.
know, and help the long-term residents here. But
Yes. Jason says
yeah,
you own it. You own the town.
yeah, right.
And that's awesome. No, listen, that's awesome. And you know what? You do it hopefully without ego. You don't seem like you have a big ego. You seem like really grounded. I think
I try not to.
any town you manage, I think, is lucky. So good for them. Good for Port Gamble.
Oh, thanks, man.
And hopefully I'll see you soon, you guys. On Thursday on the live stream of Consciousness, talking about creating reality. I came across this guy, also music. You'd be interested in this, Pete. There's a guy on YouTube. His name's Thomas Christ. He's got a show called You Rock TV, and it's basically like MTV on YouTube. He takes submitted music. It's no mainstream music. It's all submitted music from musicians. He plays the videos. It's such an amazing community. There's a chat room that people are just watching the videos and listening to the music. I've submitted a bunch of my songs already.
Nice.
But like it really feels like MTV. I don't know if you remember MTV, the little like snippets they had in the middle, like new music, doom, da doom,
Yeah,
doom, doom, da doom, doom, and
yeah.
it's just done so well. And this guy is creating his reality, and that's what I love
That's
talking about.
cool.
So
I'm looking that up because I
yeah,
miss the old MTV.
it's
You know,
if you're an MTV kid, you will love this guy. And the cool thing is like not all the music is the greatest, or not. I'm not going to say that. Not all the music will appeal to everybody, but Thomas always finds something great to talk about. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I love that riff. I love what you did with the reverb and the vocals. Like it's just that's how the world
that's
should
cool.
be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's really how the world should be. So you would definitely like it. Go check
I'm
it out.
definitely looking it up. Thanks.
Yeah, he's going to be my guest on the live stream of consciousness on Thursday. You guys are amazing. What an amazing audience you guys have been tonight. Thank you so much for being here, for participating, for asking Pete questions that really made him think.
Yes, thank you.
I saw him struggling there once or twice. He's like, "Oh my God, how am I going to answer this?" That's awesome. I think we had a great show tonight. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Peace. Have a great night. Bye, guys.